and then we'll chop up your entire life in front of maybe one person.
Here we go.
Hey, Facebook, welcome to this morning's comic spot. Yeah, this is where I get to interview people who have done a lot of comedy. And today you got one of those for you. I'll tell you what, I've worked with him on a few mics and shows, and he's a great guy. He's super funny. He's out of the East Coast, so you know he knows how to write jokes. None of this fooling around and getting stoned stuff that happens out there. They're serious. Yep, that's right. That's what I said. So I have to give a nod to my one and only paid sponsor first. Now listen here, folks. If you're a comic or a housewife or a plumber and you think maybe I'm funny, or you're a comedian and you want to get funnier, there's a lot of places you can go to get funnier. But my sponsor is ahabroadway.org. Pull up the site, see what they do for children, for seniors, for veterans like me. We get to take a class for $10.
Cool.
But you can't hardly buy anything at the dollar store for that. Okay, maybe 10 things, but whatever. You get the point. It goes a long ways. Your money goes a long ways at my sponsor, ahabroadway.org. And they got this trainer guy. His name's Chris Murphy. I'm sure Steve Goldberg has heard about him. Which brings me to my next point. Guess who our guest is today on Comic Spot? You guessed it, Steve Goldberg. He's over there in that other square. See him?
Here I am. Here I am.
Doing
Good
this.
to be square.
I'm giving him an Excedrin headache that millennials don't know anything about. Let me read you the intro for my guest, Steve Goldberg. Goldberg is a comic, has performed all over the Northeast, including Gotham Comedy Club, Stand Up New York, Broadway Comedy Club, etc., etc. He was featured in 2018 on Amazon Prime in the Turnpike Comedy Festival. During the pandemic, he has played at Flappers Comedy Club and has performed in shows all over the world, in Israel, England, Malaysia, and Japan. When are you going to hear a sentence with those 4 countries in it? Only when it has to do with Steve Goldberg. Yep, now I lost my place. Goldberg just wrapped up writing, producing, filming, starring in a comedy pilot entitled Life's Laugh Lesson. You want to buy it? He also has started a comedy troupe called the Comedy Mavens, and some of my friends are in it, some of my very closest. This is an homage. Comedy Mavens is an homage to days gone by and brings back Borscht Belt humor. We're going to talk about that, don't you worry. Their first performance is tonight, the 23rd of September in Teaneck, New Jersey. Goldberg believes that in these times, more than ever, that laughter is the best medicine, even if sometimes the medicine tastes bitter. Just follow him on Twitter at Goldberg_comic. And now, your guest and mine, the Steve Goldberg.
Thank you, Linda. Wow.
Yes.
I'm blushing. I'm like, I have spilkers. Wow, that's amazing. So good to be here.
So good.
Thank you, Broadway. What's it called? Broadway?
Yes.
Yeah, they sound like a great organization.
They are. They're so sweet to sponsor what I do in my interviews and my comedy shows for veterans. I'm so thankful for them. I get the clapped.
That is so nice.
So nice of them. Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it. I was like, my ship has come in.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you. So let's talk about how you're in the East Coast. That was a hot spot for the pandemic.
Yes,
how did you and yours survive?
It's interesting because it was very a big hot spot, particularly in the beginning of the pandemic. And unfortunately, we probably have too much media in New York City. So literally, it felt like everyone was going to die and everyone was going to get it. and there's not going to be enough ventilators or equipment and everything. And Evan, we were all freaking out. I mean, I have to say, we were all freaking out. And obviously there was no comedy, but you know what? Sometimes a curse is a blessing. And I find the Zoom comedy has really been a blessing. I can't tell you how many comics I've met from all over the world. I mean, for the people listening, you know, unless you're a big comic, most of the shows and open mics you go to are in your neighborhood with the same old comics. Often we don't listen to each other or talk to each other. We go on, do our set and leave. But Zoom comedy has really opened up the world for comics if they want to be able to socialize with comics. And that's how I met Linda. I'm really proud of what comics have done during the pandemic. They've really come through for themselves because I needed it. I mean, sometimes you go up and you want to make the audience laugh, but the truth is during these times, I needed to laugh, for God's sake. So Zoom comedy is great. Those little boxes, I love it. And you don't even have to wear pants. I love that.
Yeah. What is that? The sisterhood of the traveling pants.
Right.
And now it's sisterhood and brotherhood. So I like to ask people kind of sort of the same questions going through your life chronologically. So let's go way back to little Steve Goldberg. I would have loved to have been in a class with you and gone through school with you. I think you would have been a riot because I know how funny you are today. And I bet naturally, even before you were classically trained, should we say, I bet you were a riot to be in school with or to grow up with. What do your neighbors and family and school students say about you? Or
you know what? I actually at first was a really shy kid, believe it or not. I was like very shy. I didn't talk much. I did have this gift of math. You ever watch Rain Man or stuff like that? So like I was able to add numbers really quickly in the neighborhood. People would come up and go, "Hey, Goldberg, how much is 326 plus 72?" And I was like 4 years old and I was able to do that. But other than that, I was really shy. I remember probably about the age of 10, 11, really making a conscious decision. I'm going to be funny. I'm going to try and make people laugh. I'm going to try it. And, you know, that's what I did. It's hard. It's not easy, but you're putting yourself out there.
What is it in your life that made you decide to turn on that switch and, okay, I'm going to be funny?
Tragedy. You know what? It's funny. We're living in these times where everyone is canceling everyone. I have lived through a lot of tragedy in my life, and if it wasn't for my ability to laugh at it, and I guess if people saw it from the outside, they probably would have said I'm being insensitive or whatever. But that's how I survived it. That's how I have survived. I also have my older brother who I adore. He's my role model in life. His name is Philip. He's 67 years old, is mentally disabled. He's got a 30 IQ, but he's the funniest person I know. And he's the smartest person I know. So he taught me very early on in life, you know what? Don't sweat the small stuff and laugh. And, you know, you can laugh at anything. And that's really how and the older I got, unfortunately, you know, tragedy comes along with it and you have to laugh. And it's funny because I did the pilot and I have to say the funniest speeches or the funniest material I have ever heard was at funerals. If you listen to people at funerals, their material is priceless. It's so funny, especially if you know the person. And I think humor is healing. Humor, humor gets you through life, through boredom, through everything.
Everything. So you decided to go on stage that was the first time when you went to a comedy club to go up and do comedy, or did you try plays?
I tried it like back when I was in my 20s, and that goes back to the Catskills when the Catskill hotels were open. I did open mics there. I did a show or two there. And then, comedy was not like, when there's no technology and there's no anything, you didn't know where anything was, So then I went back to normal life, and I worked in education. I was a principal. But now with technology, you get a list of open mics. You're able to do it on Zoom. So I had been writing for a number of years, 6 or 7 years, but I've really decided right before the pandemic, but really especially during the pandemic, you know what? This is my life. I call myself a comedian. This is it. It's no more a hobby. This is who I am.
Yes. Now, okay, I want to say that when I listen to your comedy, and given you're a Jewish comic and you have a certain pattern of speaking that I identify with, because I'm Jewish. Well, I'm part Jewish. But that's a whole nother talk show. And I really grew up adoring the Jewish comedians, the greats. And your style of comedy reminds me of one certain comedian, and I've never told you this, but every time I hear you speak, I think of David Brenner.
Oh, it's a great compliment. I love him.
You always go into you make observation funny. And I think if somebody can take staring and looking and getting funny out of looking at something and make it funny and relatable, I think they're a magician.
Thank you.
So was he one of your idols, or am I?
He was one of my idols. I mean, honestly, my biggest idol was Jerry Lewis. I love Jerry Lewis, Jackie Mason, Alan King, David Brenner, Billy Crystal. I mean, the style of Jewish comics that are, they tell stories. They tell stories. They make observation. A lot of my humor is self-deprecating because I really hate myself. Why not?
Hilarious.
I don't really preach. A lot of comics today go out and preach. If I tell a political joke, it's just to be funny. Like, it's not to politicize anything, because I really don't care who's elected, because they all creeps as far as I'm concerned. So it literally is just, the humor is there just for the humor. The humor is there. And again, to laugh. I mean, if you look at the history of Jewish comedy, it really exploded when, after the Holocaust, because people really needed to laugh.
They did. Oh my gosh. It's so true. When I was growing up, my parents had gone through the Holocaust, came to America, had us kids, and they were staring off into space. They were still traumatized that they survived and others didn't. And I found early on that if I told a joke, I could make them forget the BS of the Holocaust and be in the moment, even though it was fleeting. It would only work for a little bit of time. And so I became addicted to trying to, that laugh. And I try to do it often, And so did you find that a lot of the people around you who'd been traumatized as Jewish people in the Holocaust were the reason why you became funny too, or is that just me?
Yeah, I mean, there is that notion of feeling better. I mean, the reality, if you went to synagogues, they were joking there as well. I mean, rabbis tend to be Jackie Mason was a rabbi. I don't know if people know that. So, they tend to be funny. And the whole aspect of some of the biblical stories are pretty funny. I mean, who was it that worked 7 years for a wife, and he got tricked, and then he had to work another 7 years? I think it was Isaac. He works, and it's like, all right, yeah, sure, okay, I'll do it. It's just like, yeah, why not? It's just, you know, I think there's humor in everything, and you know, we just have to see it. I do find, you know, we're in an age now where I think people don't want to laugh, and I think that's scary. That is really like they want to. There are people who actually, I think, listen to comedy sets trying to find something offensive in it and then use it against that person. I mean, they're not there to laugh.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre. It's bizarre, but like you can, you know, especially on social media, you try and make a joke and it's just like, oh, gewalt, they all come after you. You know, I mean, I have a joke. You know, follow me on Twitter at Goldberg _comic. Please follow me fat quickly because I stayed at Trump Plaza in 1993 and they want to kick me off Twitter. I have gotten in trouble for saying that joke. Oh, what are you saying? They shouldn't have kicked Trump off? What are you saying? You're a Trump. I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm being funny. That's what I'm trying to do.
People are just looking for a fight lately.
They really are. And you know, you would think the pandemic would have dulled it a little bit, but they don't. And you want to get people really angry because I happen to be independent politically, and for my New Year's resolution, and people are listening, do this because I was going crazy with the news. I gave up news. I do not watch any cable news.
You're so funny. Oh my gosh. To me,
So,
you're on the track to becoming one of the great comedians.
oh, thank you.
I just
appreciate
love your
that.
comedy. Keep going. Keep
Thank
talking.
you. You're probably also a Jets fan and think they're going to win the Super Bowl. But yeah, so I gave up all news, all everything. I haven't watched the news since December. And you want to get people angry? Don't even like take the other political side. Say what I say. I don't care. It pisses people off. Like they'll ask, well, what do you think about the Texas law? I don't care. I don't live in Texas. I don't care. It drives people nuts. And you know what? I don't care because I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. And I just found it, find like it really took a big burden off me January 6th, when the whole thing happened, I wasn't listening to the news. And all I heard was that Kanye and Kim Kardashian were getting divorced. So I thought all the people in the Capitol were rioting because of that. That's what I thought. I had no clue. I literally had no clue. I'm like, oh my God, I guess they're really upset about Kanye and Kim getting divorced. Because it was the same day.
It's a funny way of looking at that one. How many years have you been performing comedy?
I've been performing like straight now for about 5 years. Like I said, I did it when I was younger. I've been writing for like 7 or 8 years, but really performing for about 5 years.
And who has helped you? What clubs, what promoters, what teachers and coaches that
I
you
worked
want
with Manhattan Comedy School. So I thought they were really good. And you're not a comic unless you take a class, by the way. You really need to take a class just to see other comics, how they work, and the idea of taking a class and interacting, because it's a career. It's an art, you know. It's so important to see how other comics write jokes and do jokes and so on and so forth.
Just the idea of comedians taking classes is funny to me because they're ADD, ADHD, bipolar, psych issues, taking classes together. Oh, yeah. How could possibly
That's
go
what
wrong?
my pilot is about comedians taking a comedy class.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. When will that be out?
You want to buy it? We're trying to sell it, so we'll see.
How much, like you buy the whole thing or you buy a piece or what?
No, I'm looking we shot it, but you know, the way they do pitches now is you have to shoot first because no one really takes a script. So we shot the script, and now we're going to try to sell it to different, through different venues. We'll see what happens.
what are some places that are potential to buy it? Like, not naming names, but like, what about an art foundation or art school?
Well, we're looking towards, different producers to do it. Obviously, we feel like, now just there are a million different networks. They're all looking for programming. So, and you're freer now because it used to be you write a pilot, you have to do 26 episodes. Now you do Netflix, it's 7, 8 episodes a year. So it's a different sort of genre. So we're looking to start pitching it. And, we got a pretty good actor in it who's been in some movies. So once we're done with the editing, he'll hopefully take it around and we'll see.
Wonderful. I can't wait for that to come out. Oh my
Neither can I.
gosh. So let's talk about all of your performing all over at Broadway and stand up, and tell me what it is you like about the different venues. Like, go through venue by venue, what you like best about every venue's different. And
Right.
people haven't maybe been to the East Coast to New York City to
Right.
do comedy. So explain to them what you like about stand up or comic strip or.
Sure. Actually, my favorite venue is probably the Gotham Comedy Club. It looks nice, has a nice background. There's sort of I don't even know how explain a long, like comics, you can be in the room but not be in the room. So then you come out. I really like the Gotham Comedy Club. It's just a very high class comedy club. I love Broadway Comedy Club, which sort of the flip end, where people are just jammed together and laughing on top of each other. I like, those are probably my two favorite venues that I really like and dig. And Broadway Comedy Club also has great drinks, because the drunker people are, the funnier they think you are. So that's important.
So what's the main goal you have in your comedy life? What are you trying to accomplish?
Like I said, I'm trying to bring back Borscht Belt Comedy, the old observational comedy. I'm trying to sort of push out against that sort of, cancel culture, if you will, particularly as it relates to, we should be laughing about everything. We really should be laughing about everything, because it's a way for us to heal. And if you don't find the jokes healing to you, then that's cool. Let other people be healed by it. That's what I really find like so scary. It's like, I think you said it before we got on. It's like, if you don't like something, move on. Don't try to take it away from everyone else. It's just like, even like, I did something for flood. We had some bad flooding recently, and I did something, I had this joke for the flood victims. I'm like, I did a little show for them, and I said, what is it lately? Every time there's a tragedy, the first things people do is get cases of water and give it out to victims. What is that? You guys went through a flood. Didn't you have enough water, for God's sake? I mean, I don't understand it. Oh my God. Jane, did you hear about Jane? Her house was burglarized. Oh my God, let's bring her water. I mean, but it's so true. You see the behaviors of people sometimes. Like in my town, they were like organizing water and all that stuff. It was funny. It was just very funny. So,
and you know what else is funny about that? The flip side is like, and then what is it like? Israel's a desert, and do they give them water? No, they send them trees. They need water.
Right. So yeah, I mean, my comedy goal is really to make people laugh, and you know what, to enjoy it. I mean, I think partly also I'm at a time in my life where I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for I just reached 60 years old, and you know, you look back at life and you say, hey, you know, you may not have time to do. Someone said, oh, you're young, you're middle-aged. Middle-aged? I'm not living to 120. What is it? Why can't we say we're old anymore? It's so weird. You know, 60 is old. I'm sorry. You know, it's like 2/3 of my life, lucky, if I'm lucky, are down, you know? So, so it's really just trying to get myself laughing. And, you know, it was great turning 16. My wife got me a great gift. I want to do acting. So she got me acting lessons with the greatest actor of our generation, Andrew Cuomo. Looking forward to that.
Before that, all we had was Perry Como.
Yeah. Remember Perry Como with the sweater? You know what show I watch all the time? It's funny because I was on a podcast and with other comedians, and the question was, if you were in a sitcom, what sitcom would you want to be in? Like famous sitcom. And everyone said Seinfeld, Friends, Veep. This guy said Mary Tyler Moore. I love that show.
Me too.
I loved Lou Grant. I was so upset when Ed Asner passed away. Was it last week? I mean, that show had the greatest line ever in a comedy show. Certainly in a pilot, when Mary interviews for the job and she tells Lou off and he goes, "You got spunk." She goes, "Oh, thank you. I hate spunk." Greatest line ever. That was it. After that line, I was hooked.
Wow. So if you were to be cast in your favorite sitcom, would it be Mary Tyler Moore as well? Would it?
That's my favorite sitcom of all time. I have to say, it really is. Because there was a dramatic overtone to it a lot. I mean, I like and what I wrote also is a little bit of a dramedy. You know, I like dramedies. I really enjoy Mary Tyler Moore. I mean, look, I love Seinfeld. I love King of Queens and stuff like that. But if I had to pick something because I remember as a teenager, believe it or not, teenagers, college, staying up to 2:00 in the morning to watch Mary Tyler Moore because it was on syndication. And back then you didn't have 500 million channels. You took it when it was. And I remember staying up 2:00 in the morning watching Mary Tyler Moore. I wouldn't do that for any other comedy.
If I could be cast in one old sitcom, it would be Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh, I love that.
Because up until Welcome Back, Kotter, we funny people were always getting in trouble at school or thought to be half-wits. And then he kind of normalized being weirdo in school, you know, because he had a whole classroom he brought light to the fact that maybe funny people isn't a bad thing.
Right. He also did, it was close to stand-up material in the show as well. Like the beginning with his wife where he did like sort of a little stand-up routine. Yeah, love Welcome Back, Kotter. And the mixture of kids and all that stuff and bad kids, and actually just been an educator and I worked a lot with special ed kids. I can tell you they're funny, great way to really get close to a kid is making jokes.
What's the funniest thing you've heard come out of the mouth of one of your children in school?
So it was funny thing. I love when someone says, I remember a kid complaining about, it was like a group, an emotional support group, a kid complaining about his dog and his father, is like making him walk his dog and the kid is going to run away or commit suicide. And the other kid goes, why don't you just kill the dog? I mean, you said it jokingly, but it was so funny,
That's hysterical. Oh my gosh. What is the funniest thing you've ever heard a heckler say in the middle of anybody's set? Have you heard some funny things?
No. I mean, hecklers, and it's funny, people always say, like, how do I deal with hecklers? I haven't really had a problem with hecklers. Have you?
Oh, yeah, because I used to go too slow. And then if you
Oh,
give them an inch, they'll run with it. So you got to
yeah.
speed up your pace. But since I went
Yeah,
faster,
I haven't really heard really hecklers really say anything funny. I mean, I tend to be a comic that if I ask the audience anything, it's a yes or no question. So, I mean, I love it when the comics go, "Tell me, what do you do?" And then they start a conversation with the person, and then the person talks, and they're like, they're mad at the person. It's like, no, you asked him to speak. You invited this upon yourself. So, yeah, I don't find I find that there were at some like there was like an open mic show where a woman heckler demanded to perform, and she took the mic, and oh my God, it was just drunken stuff for like 10 minutes, and she thought she was funny. So I guess that was good for her, but I
yeah.
generally don't find hecklers saying anything very funny.
The funniest thing I ever heard, do you know who Adam Hunter is out of New York?
Mm-hmm. I know
So
the name. I haven't seen him.
he was doing the dirty at 12:30 here in Vegas about 4 months ago. And he paused, he asked a question and he waited too long. I think he meant it to be rhetorical. And this lady's like, what do you think are the advantages to life or something? And a lady yelled out, military benefit. The whole night. Anytime he asked a question, the audience would say military benefit. He's really good at riffing with, and he heckles back. And it was the most hysterical. It took his set to a whole nother level because, she was that of all the comments in the free world, why would you say military benefit?
Yeah. You know who does stuff like that? Have you seen Judah Friedlander?
Yes, in the 90s.
Yeah, working with audience, like an audience person can say anything and he will take it. It's like an amazing gift.
It is. It is. What's your strength when you're doing comedy?
I rant.
I love that.
I love ranting.
Sarcastic rants are my favorite,
Yeah,
like Lewis Black.
Right. Those, that's typically, what I do. And I rant depending on the subject matter and depending on the audience. So like tonight, like I said, I'm doing a Jewish group and a Jewish comedian, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like they made liquor stores. They kept open because that's essential. Meanwhile, synagogues are closed because that's not essential. That is so ridiculous, so unfair. Because I get all my liquor from my synagogue. So I like to rant.
Oh my gosh. So have you had some rants that you've done and nobody liked the rant?
I don't ask, so I'm sure someone didn't like it. I don't know. But generally,
it's the difference between male and female comics right there.
Yeah. What also is the difference between male and female comics? It's so funny because sometimes I'll work with comics, and if I tell a male comic, let's say if he says, well, if he's talking about his cat, and I say, turn your cat into a dog, it would be funnier. If I tell that to a woman comic, she goes, but I don't have a dog. I'm like, no one's gonna check. It's funny if it's a dog. Like I'll never forget this. I was working with this woman comic. Her boyfriend was a Uber driver, and I said, and they were having all these discussions. And I said, make your boyfriend a lawyer. It would be funnier. And it's like, but he's not a lawyer. He can be, but he doesn't want to go. I mean, like there's this sense of like and I hate to generalize, but the women comics, like they feel like they can't lie on stage. You know, it's taboo. You can lie on stage. You can exaggerate on stage, for God's sake.
Yes, absolutely. That's so funny. What do you want to accomplish in your comedy life on stage and off stage with your family, with your neighborhood, with the world? What are your two main goals?
Well, I guess, I'd like to get a series on TV. I'd like to write, so that's a main goal. And honestly, I'm at a point where I want to give back a lot with comedy. I do a lot of charity events. I love doing charity events, and they always ask, how much do you charge? And I said, nothing. They're always surprised. I will never take, if I believe in that charity. And that's the other thing. It's like, and I'm sure everyone's, oh, wow, that's nice. What am I doing? I'm taking a mic, I'm speaking on the mic for 45 minutes, big deal. And if they can raise money off that, God bless them. I did like veterans events, I did a few veterans events, and and they were all surprised. It's like, you don't want any money? I said, no, just you use it for the veterans. This is on me, it's just because I also served. I have an ex-wife, so I know I served. But yeah, it's so yeah, I like to give back a lot. I like to give back, and you like to enjoy. You gotta enjoy life.
I love you so much. Where do you want people to follow you, and what show? Tell us again about your show, where it's going to be, and upcoming shows.
Okay, so you can follow me at Goldberg _comic on Twitter. My show tonight is in Teaneck, New Jersey. And then I have taken myself off from shows because I will be performing at Mount Sinai Hospital, getting a cataract surgery next week. So I've kind of taken myself off shows for a while because I don't know what the healing process is. Even that's funny. I always thought I had perfect vision. So last month I got Bell's palsy and thank God, all healed, but it affected my right eye. And because of that, I went to an eye doctor who tested my right eye, and I read the chart, EM, the whole thing, even the bottom that says made in China. And he goes, all right, let's check the other eye. And I'm like, okay, E. And that was it. Like, I never realized I have cataracts in this eye, and I don't even see out of it. So it's getting that taken care of on Tuesday. So
it'd be funnier if you said doggeract. So you're going to be in Teaneck, New Jersey. What time does that show start?
That starts tonight at 7:30.
7:30 p.m. And where is it at in Teaneck?
It's Sender's Smoke Joint. It's a restaurant, it's a kosher restaurant. So we're trying this comedy troupe out, and then and I also actually I just signed this deal yesterday for Dave and Buster's. Have you heard of Dave and Buster's?
Heck yes.
Yeah, so in Wayne, New Jersey, I do these football events where we watch football together.
No way. And what do you do? Crack jokes?
Crack jokes, sort of watch the game, we're all watching the game together, and I'm cracking jokes and doing things. They call them football watch parties, and it's in Wayne, New Jersey, and I'm doing that October 10th, 17th, and 24th.
Wonderful. And would those be on Zoom or like?
No, that'll be live. Those are live.
Live. Okay,
Tonite
perfect.
show's live too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Is there anywhere that you want people? So you want people to follow you on your Instagram? Did you say?
Twitter.
Twitter. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Instagram. I didn't even know. Do you do Instagram and all that stuff?
Yeah, I do everything.
TikTok?
Yeah, I do TikTok.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. When it came out, I thought, TikTok, what's that? Flavor Flav with a clock on his neck?
I thought Instagram was a place to buy cocaine. I didn't realize what it was.
I thought Snapchat was when you talk to a high schooler and his mother pushes you out of the way.
Wasn't Snapchat the one where if you're talking dirty, it evaporates your chat? Wasn't that Snapchat?
I don't know. I know Snapchat is like you can put filters and clean up your look. I don't
Oh, I
really.
thought Snapchat was the one where if people were like it got rid of the chat very quickly. That's what I thought it was. I don't know. It's all moving so fast, right? Remember, when you didn't carry a phone where you had everything in life.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember way before social media. I mean, whatever you said, nobody could prove you said it. Now everything, you have to
Right?
be so careful.
Right, absolutely. And
Yeah.
now whatever you say over and over and over and over again. It's like you say a million times and you've only said it once. It's just, which is that's what's scary about social media. Someone makes one mistake, and because it keeps getting shown, it's almost like they've made that same mistake 100 million times, and it was just one slip up.
And it could be 25 years ago and they're acting,
Right.
25 years ago, the laws, the social mores weren't strict. And so people are getting in trouble for things that were acceptable back then.
Right. And especially comics, because as a comic, you have a joke and you're trying to work it out, and you'll go to an open mic, and sometimes you'll even throw a joke you're working on in your show to see the reaction, to see, what it is. And, sometimes it really backfires, and it's scary.
It is. One time I had a joke about Oprah Winfrey. And unfortunately, I also had a joke about Michael Jackson. Well, I was at the level of my comedy where I was trying to punch up, not punch down. And I figured they were rich and famous, and that was punching up. But I forgot the fact that they happened to be of a group of people who have been oppressed for 400 years.
Mm.
So when I got off the stage, the next comic said, "Wow, I didn't know we were going to have a racist grandma up here." And I
Ooh.
cried for 2 weeks because I wasn't thinking. I just thought these were funny jokes.
Right. Yeah, and he wasn't thinking either. He just wanted to take advantage of that, which is, you know,
Yep.
which is probably worse, but whatever.
I have a question for you, Steve. What is it? You go by Goldberg on stage,
Yeah.
right? What is the one joke? Do you have a joke that sort of works, maybe doesn't work, but you refuse to get rid of it because it's for you?
It's why I go by Goldberg. It's why
Really?
I go by
Tell
Goldberg.
me.
It's I used to have a first name, but I came out recently to my family. It was Gay Pride Week. I felt like a need to come out. It didn't go well. They weren't accepting at all. I came out Orthodox Jewish, and they flipped out. Then I go through the whole rant about what they say. But and you know what? That's my joke. And there is so much truth to that. I can't even begin to tell you, because a few years ago I decided to wear a kippah all the time. Actually, I decided to wear it when I think it was 2018. Germany told Jews not to wear a kippah because it was dangerous. So I said, screw that, I'm wearing it. So that's what, and the next day I came to work, wherever I went, suddenly I was different. It was just so bizarre. It was like as if, like, I've always been Jewish. My name is Goldberg, for God's sake. What did you think I was? And I always, I was a proud Jew. I wore my Jew, but just wearing the kippah really just flipped people out. They didn't know what to do with it. It was bizarre.
I love that. That's what comes, that joke comes from real life and real, I don't know, pain. It comes from when jokes come from a very deep place, the potential for the laughter is so much greater.
Right.
Well,
And the joy in telling it, I love telling jokes that, you feel, and you've lived through.
my joke that I have, I'm still trying to make it funny, but I'll figure it out. My joke is, I've got really good news for you folks. My parents survived the Holocaust. Isn't that amazing that they survived? Yeah.
Mhm.
But even better, my parents, they survived the Holocaust that did exist.
That actually is very funny.
Thank you. I've had people tell me it's not funny, don't use it, you'll lose the crowd, everything. And I refuse to give the joke up.
Yeah, why? Yeah, I think it works.
Thank you.
Definitely works.
Well, I'm gonna let you go because you've got that big show
Yeah, I
tonight.
do.
And the name of
Great being on your show. Great meeting you too. One day, hopefully, I'm meeting all these friends on Zoom. It's like amazing. One
I know,
day,
what's the
hopefully, we'll
name of
meet
the
in
show
person.
tonight again, please?
The Comedy Mavens. They're at Sender's Smoke Shop in Teaneck.
Fenders like the guitar?
Senders.
Got it. Smoke shop. Got it. You got it. I'll go post it on this thingamajig, and if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to send it to you on Twitter and have you share it.
Sure.
Thank you. You're a
Thank you.
doll. See you again on Zoom.
Yes, we will. Bye.
Love you lots. Bye.
Bye.